Welcome to my channel, Veterans Legacy, a place where forgotten bravery breathes again, where uniforms gather dust, but stories still march. Today, you're about to witness a tale that will pull the breath from your lungs. A story of disrespect, of arrogance, and of the moment the world stopped when three generals walked through the gates, eyes like storms, and justice hanging off their shoulders like medals. It all began on a dusty afternoon at Fort Ridgeline, a base known not for its glory, but for its silence. Years had passed since it had seen combat. Now it was a training ground, fresh recruits, loud voices, restless ambition. Among them was Private Mason Hale, young, cocky, convinced that war was nothing more than video game glory waiting to be achieved. He walked with a swagger, every step clanging like a challenge. He didn't know yet that fate was sharpening its blade with his name on it. And then, on that scorching afternoon, he saw him. An old man, slow in step, bent slightly, his uniform faded like a flag after too many seasons. He walked with a cane, his silver hair uncovered, his chest decorated not with pride, but with memory. Rows of medals lined his jacket, not new and shining, but old and earned. Private Mason scoffed. He didn't know who the man was. He only saw age. He only saw weakness. The recruits gathered like wolves scenting blood. The whispers began, then the snickers, and finally, Mason stepped forward. "You lost, old-timer. This ain't a museum." The old veteran lifted his eyes, calm, slow, ocean deep. "Son, I fought for this flag before you ever took your first breath." Mason's laugh was sharp, cruel, echoing across the training yard. "They should have retired you with a coffin, Grandpa." And with that, he shoved him hard. The old man stumbled, his cane slipping across the concrete, and then Mason's boot connected with his ribs. Once, twice, a quick and brutal coward's kick. The yard fell silent, a hush, like the breath before a storm. The old soldier didn't cry out. He only looked up, pain trembling along his jaw, yet pride still unbroken. "You don't know who you're disrespecting," he whispered. Mason spat at the ground. "And who's gonna stop me?" Those were the last arrogant words he would ever speak freely. Because the gates of Fort Ridgeline, usually calm, usually guarded by two sleepy MPs, slammed open. Sirens wailed across the base. The air tightened. The ground itself seemed to hold still. Three black SUVs rolled in like thunderclouds. And when the doors opened, three generals stepped out. Full dress uniform, medals like constellations, faces carved from war itself. The base froze. No one breathed. Even the wind seemed to kneel. General Harland, stern as winter, approached the old man first. No words, only a hand resting on the veteran's shoulder with reverence, with history, with grief. Private Mason's smirk dissolved into pale terror. "Private Hale," General Harland said, voice like a rifle bolt. "You just assaulted General Matthew J. Rowan, two-time Medal of Honor recipient, sole survivor of the Winter Ridge Offensive, the man who led the 7th Battalion when every other officer fell." The recruits gasped. Some staggered. One dropped to their knees. Mason's breath shattered like glass. The old man, the one he called Grandpa, was a legend. A ghost from textbooks. A man whose bravery was so great it belonged in stone, not flesh. General Rowan stood slowly, refusing help. His voice was hoarse, but unbreakable. "I didn't come to be honored," he murmured. "I came to quietly lay flowers for the men who never came home." Mason shook, his entire body trembling. He opened his mouth to apologize, but the words tangled and died in his throat. Too late. General Harlan turned to the MPs. "Lock the base down. No one leaves. No one speaks. I want this entire incident documented in full." Then his eyes pinned Mason like a bayonet. "You disgrace the uniform you wear." They dragged Mason away. Not gently, not kindly, his screams echoing through the parade grounds like the last cry of arrogance collapsing. But the story didn't end there. The recruits gathered around General Rowan, not because they were ordered to, but because something ancient stirred in them. Respect, shame, honor. Rowan looked at them, at those young faces who knew nothing yet of cost, sacrifice, or the weight of a folded flag. And though bruised, he spoke. "You wear this uniform thinking it makes you strong," he said quietly. "Strength is not found in the ability to harm the weak, but in the courage to protect them. His words were not loud, yet they struck deeper than commands shouted through war. One by one, helmets came off, heads bowed, eyes welled, even the sun seemed to stand in silence. General Rowan stepped toward the memorial carved in granite near the courtyard. Names, hundreds, etched into stone. He placed a single flower, and as it touched the surface, his voice broke, just once. For my brothers. No one moved. No one dared disturb the weight of that moment. General Harlan turned to the recruits. Remember this day, because you just stood in the presence of a man who carried an entire battlefield on his back and still walked forward. And from that day forward, Fort Ridgeline changed. The laughter became quieter, the salutes sharper, the training harsher, but filled with purpose. Because legend had stood among them, and bled humility into their bones. As for Mason Hale, he was court-martialed, dishonorably discharged, yet he never stopped talking about the day 3 generals arrived like judgment written in steel. And people listened, because every time Mason told the story, his voice cracked, not with shame alone, but with understanding. Respect was learned the hardest way, and somewhere beyond the horizon, General Rowan continued to visit graveyards in silence, a soldier among ghosts, never asking for gratitude, never demanding applause, only placing flowers for the men who gave the world everything and received nothing but memories. If this story reached your heart, if it stirred a tear or tightened your chest, then honor it. Honor every veteran you pass. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more true soul military stories that the world must never forget. This is Veterans Legacy, where heroes never fade.